Welcome to Cheat Sheet Tale, where secrets slip, lies unravel, and the truth always has a twist. Real stories, raw confessions, and shocking betrayals. Drop a comment if you've ever caught a red flag too late. Now, let's get into today's. Talemi husband told me to stop wasting money on my side business, so I secretly grew it into a 6-figure company when he found out I was now the breadwinner. His entire attitude changed, but it was too late. I met Nathan in college. We were both students at the University of Texas at Austin. He was studying engineering, and I was majoring in business. Nathan was charming, confident, and had a clear vision for his future. I was drawn to his ambition and the way he spoke about building a life together. After graduation, we got married and settled in a modest home in Dallas. Nathan secured a job at a reputable engineering firm, and I took a position in marketing. We were young in love and ready to take on the world a few years into our marriage. It started, feeling unfulfilled at my job. The corporate world was draining, and he longed for something more creative. I had always been passionate about baking, often experimenting with recipes and sharing my creations with friends and family. One day, a colleague suggested I start selling my baked goods. The idea intrigued me. I began by selling cookies and cakes at local farmers markets on weekends. The response was overwhelmingly positive. Encouraged, I decided to turn my hobby into a side business. I named it Sweet Delights and started taking custom orders. I managed everything from our home kitchen, balancing it with my full-time job. The extra income was modest but meaningful as Sweet Delights grew. So did the time and resources it demanded. I invested in better equipment, ingredients, and even took a few online courses to hone my skills. Nathan began to notice the changes one evening as I was preparing a batch of cupcakes for an order. Nathan confronted me. "You're spending too much time and money on this baking thing," he said. "It's just a hobby. Focus on your real job." I tried to explain the potential I saw in Sweet Delights, but he dismissed it. He believed it was a distraction and a financial drain. Despite his disapproval, I continued. I loved baking, and the joy it brought me was immeasurable. I started waking up earlier and staying up later to fulfill orders, ensuring it didn't interfere with my day job or our time together. Over the next year, Sweet Delights experienced significant growth. Word-of-mouth referrals increased, and I started receiving bulk orders for events. I created a simple website and utilized social media to showcase my products. I invested every penny I earned back into the business. I upgraded our kitchen appliances, purchased a second refrigerator, and even hired a part-time assistant to help with large orders. Nathan remained indifferent. He rarely asked about the business and showed little interest in my achievements. I stopped sharing updates with him, focusing instead on my goals. A local cafe owner approached me with an offer to supply baked goods for their daily menu. It was a significant opportunity. I negotiated a contract and began delivering fresh pastries every morning. Before heading to work, the consistent orders provided a steady income, and I started considering the possibility of leaving my corporate job to focus on Sweet Delights full-time. I meticulously planned the transition, ensuring I had enough savings and a solid customer base. After 2 years of juggling both roles, I handed in my resignation and dedicated myself entirely to my business. With my full attention, Sweet Delights flourished. I expanded to catering events, hired additional staff, and even rented a commercial kitchen space. Within a year, my annual revenue surpassed 6 figures. One evening, Nathan stumbled upon a bank statement and was shocked by the figure. "Sis, this all from your baking?" he asked. Astonished, I nodded, explaining the growth and success of Sweet Delights. For the first time, he showed genuine interest. "This is impressive," he admitted. "Maybe I underestimated you." His attitude shifted. He began suggesting ways to expand the business offering to handle finances and operations. But his sudden involvement felt disingenuous. I realized that while Nathan now respected the business, he hadn't supported me when I needed it most. His earlier dismissiveness and lack of encouragement had left a lasting impact. I took time to reflect on our relationship. The lack of support the dismissiveness, and the sudden interest. Only after financial success made me question our partnership. After much contemplation, I decided to end our marriage. I wanted a partner who believed in me from the start, not one who only valued me. After I proved my worth, the divorce was amicable. We divided our assets, and I retained full ownership of Sweet Delights. I continued to grow the business, eventually opening a storefront in downtown Dallas. Sweet Delights became a beloved local establishment, known for its delicious treats and warm atmosphere. I mentored aspiring bakers, sharing my journey and encouraging them to pursue their passions. Looking back, the challenges I faced only strengthened my resolve. I built something from the ground up, turning a simple hobby into a thriving business. And in the process, I rediscovered my self-worth and independence. Just when things felt steady, something happened that I didn't expect. It had been about 6 months since Nathan and I split. Sweet Delights was doing well, and I finally felt like I had some peace. Then, out of nowhere, Nathan texted me, "Can we talk?" At first, I ignored it. What was there to say? But a week later, he showed up at my bakery. He looked different, worn out, tired. He asked if we could talk outside. I didn't want a scene in front of customers, so I stepped out. He told me he'd been laid off from his job. The engineering firm had downsized, and he was one of the casualties. No warning, no backup plan. Then he said it. The thing that threw me off. "I've been thinking maybe I could help you run Sweet Delights." I know I wasn't supportive before, but things are different now. I stared at him. This man who once told me I was wasting money was now asking for a job. I won't lie. Thought about it. Part of me felt bad for him. We had spent years together. I knew he wasn't a bad person, just proud. Maybe life had humbled him. Maybe he'd changed. But I also remembered the way he spoke to me when I first started, the way he rolled his eyes when I got excited about a new recipe, the way he brushed me off like I was playing pretend. I told him I'd think about it later that night. I called my best friend Tara and told her everything. She didn't hold back. "He didn't believe in you when it mattered. Now that you're successful, he suddenly wants to jump in. That's not help, that's convenience." She was right. Word started spreading in our circle of friends. People we both knew began calling me, messaging me, trying to convince me to give Nathan a chance. His mom even reached out. "He's struggling. Honey, you've got a big heart. Help him get back on his feet." I felt like I was being guilt-tripped into rescuing him, like I owed him something, like my success came with Apris. Meanwhile, my staff at Sweet Delight started picking up on the tension. I was distracted, short-tempered. I started making mistakes, wrong orders, missing deliveries, forgetting ingredients. I had worked so hard to build this life. I couldn't let it fall apart because of emotional confusion. Then came the real gut punch. I found out Nathan had already told a few people he was getting involved with the business. One of them mentioned it casually while picking up an order. "So is your ex-husband running this place? Now we're just helping out." I nearly dropped the box I was holding. He was planting the idea that we were working together. Even though I hadn't agreed to anything, maybe he thought if enough people believed it, I'd just let it happen. That was when I realized this wasn't just about getting a job. This was about control. He saw the business thriving and didn't want to be left behind. He was trying to write himself back into a story he walked out on, and I wasn't about to let that happen. I called him and told him to meet me at the bakery after closing when he arrived. I handed him a sheet of paper. It was a formal, no contact request, nothing legal, just clear words in writing that he wanted no involvement, personal or professional, from him in my business. He looked shocked. "You're seriously doing this?" I nodded. "Yes, you made your choice. Back then, you didn't believe in me. I don't need you now, just because you believe in my money." He tried to argue, but I didn't let him. "You're not part of this, not the business, Not my future. Not anymore, he left angry. Slammed the door. On his way out, a few people turned cold. After that, friends I thought were mine started. Pulling away some, said I was. Cruel others acted like I was ungrateful, but I didn't care. I knew what I had survived. Being doubted, belittled, dismissed. I knew what it felt like to stay up late crying over how alone I felt chasing a dream no one believed in. They didn't see that part. They only saw the successful storefront, the smiling customers, the Instagram photos, but I lived it. And now I was going to protect it, even if that meant standing alone. Again, a couple of weeks after I shut the door on Nathan. Literally and figuratively, I got an unexpected visit at Sweet Delights. It was a woman, mid-30s, neat blazer, holding a manila folder. She asked for me by name. "Hi, I'm Erin. I work with DNL Properties. You lease your commercial kitchen space from us, right?" I nodded, not sure where this was going. She got right to the point. "We've received an application for partial ownership of the unit your business occupies. Someone filed a petition to police under the name Nathan Cross." My stomach dropped. He was trying to legally insert himself into my space. She kept talking, but I was barely listening. My head was spinning. I thanked her for coming in person and said I needed time to review the documents as soon as she left. I locked the front door, flipped the closed, say nearly, and sat in my office in shock. I spent that entire evening rereading every lease clause, scanning every paper ever signed. I had made sure everything was in my name from the start. Nathan was never on the business license, never on the kitchen lease, never on a single receipt. So how was this happening? I contacted my lawyer, a family friend. Marcus Lee had helped me with the initial business setup. When I explained the situation, he sighed. "This sounds like a maneuver, a bluff. If he can show proof of financial contribution, real or faked, he might try to claim a stake in the property or the business through a legal loophole." I thought back. Had he ever transferred money, paid for supplies, anything I could have overlooked? No, not a cent. Marcus Lee sent a cease and desist letter. The next morning that same week, I started getting strange reviews online. Not about the food. About me, she's cold, not supportive, used her husband's money, then kicked him out, terrible attitude, clearly riding on someone else's coattails. 1 star after 1 star. The wording felt too personal, like someone trying to damage my reputation. I knew it had to be him. I logged onto an old shared Dropbox account we used to use in the early days of our marriage, mostly for taxes, vacation photos, stuff like that. I hadn't touched it in years. That's when I found the folder he had saved screenshots of my early business receipts, emails with clients, order logs, probably back when he was snooping around. He even had some messages I sent to my assistant venting about his behavior. He was collecting ammo for what I didn't know. But it wasn't just about helping the business anymore. I called him I shouldn't have, but I was angry. I needed to look him in the eye, even through a phone. "What are you doing, Nathan?" He didn't deny anything. "I'm just making sure my side of the story is heard. You think people are going to keep loving your little cupcakes when they find out you built this on my back? You didn't build a damn thing." I snapped. "You stood in my way. The only thing you gave me was doubt." He laughed. "We'll see. Maybe I'll file for retroactive spousal contribution, Texas, a community property state, remember?" And that was when it hit me. He wasn't bluffing. He was going to try to claim half of my business as a marital asset. Pulled every document, invoice, and transaction since day one. Everything I'd done with Sweet Delights had been separate. Every dollar spent came from my own account. Every ingredient, every piece of equipment bought with my personal post-tax income. Then I found something, auto payment I didn't recognize from a bank account under his name 2 years, go 3, a 000 labeled business supplies. My heart sank. I didn't remember it. He must have transferred it without telling me, maybe hoping I wouldn't notice if he could show even one traceable contribution. It might be enough to start. Messy legal claim, I called. Marcus Lee, he confirmed what I feared. This could be used as leverage in court, even if I didn't ask for the money. If it was spent in the business, it created a potential claim. I needed to protect everything I'd built. So I made a move of my own. I filed to formally restructure Sweet Delights into an LLC if only to protect the assets. I also filed a fraud complaint against Nathan's transaction. It would take time, but it showed I was serious. Then I did something I never thought I'd do. I wrote a personal statement and posted it to my business's website and social media accounts. Not the dirty details, but the truth that Sweet Delights was built. Loan that I faced. Roadblocks from people I trusted that I was fighting to keep what I'd earned with my own 2 hands. I didn't ask for sympathy. I just told the truth. And it resonated the next week. I had more orders than I could handle. People showed up just to say they supported me. The bakery felt like home. Again, but I knew the fight wasn't over. It all came to a head 3 months later. Nathan followed through with his threat, heffled a claim for partial ownership of Sweet Delights, citing the 3.000 contribution and claiming he'd given emotional support and business advice during our marriage. The words made me laugh and want to cry at the same time. We ended up in court. Real court suits lawyers. A judge, Nathan, showed up, looking polished, smug, like he had already won. His lawyer painted a picture of a supportive husband who helped build the business, only to be cut out when it became successful. Then it was my turn. My lawyer, Marcus Lee, had built a strong case. He showed every receipt, every business record, every late-night email and invoice in my name. The judge looked unimpressed by Nathan's claim. Then Marcus Lee brought out the final piece, proof that the $3.00 contribution came after a personal loan Nathan had secretly taken out under my name. Yes, he had used my credit to fund that transfer without telling me. My stomach turned as the judge read over the documents. There it was, fraud in black and white. Not only did Nathan lose the case, he was ordered to pay my legal fees and find for unauthorized use of my personal financial info. But it didn't stop there. Turns out using someone's name for a loan without their permission isn't just shady. It's illegal. The bank opened a fraud investigation he was hit with. Charges it wasn't jail time, but it was public and humiliating. He lost what was left of his professional reputation, and the friends who defended him, they vanished fast. As for his family, they called me to apologize too late. In the weeks that followed, I worked harder than ever. Sweet Delights expanded into a second location. I hired a manager. So I could actually rest for once. I started teaching baking classes on the weekends. But something in me had changed. I wasn't just the woman who made cupcakes anymore. I was the woman who survived being told she wasn't enough, who turned a side hustle into a shield, who stood alone in court and didn't flinch. And yes, I made mistakes. I stayed quiet too long, ignored red flags. I believed someone who didn't believe in me. I trusted love over facts that was on me, but I learned never again would I let someone talk me out of my own future. Never again would I shrink to make someone else comfortable. I saw Nathan once. More months later, he was working a booth at a job fair, engineering recruitment. No firm name on his table, just him handing out resume. She saw me. I walked past, didn't stop, didn't smile, just moved forward. Because that's what you do when the past tries to look you in the eye. You remind it that it already had its chance, and it blew it. He tried to take what I built, but in the end, he gave me the one thing he never meant to fire, and I used it to build an empire